Every once in a while on the road, you drive by a random cemetery that piques your interest. It says Crystal River Cemetery, circa 1860 in Crystal River, Florida. Let's take a look. Now, these cemeteries are very historic, and they're a little bit different than the ones that we have taken a look at up north. And one thing that I've noticed about in just my short time of exploring cemeteries here in the South, there's a lot of Civil War veterans, but it's a little bit different than up north because around here, a lot of the veterans were Confederate soldiers. So that's kind of an interesting thing to note. They have quite a few of these that are fenced off, and it's kind of weird because there's houses and businesses backed up to the cemetery in all angles. But you have ones like this that are kind of fenced off a little bit. But you always have to check out places like this. And one of the things here is that you just never know what, in terms of wildlife, I'm not exactly sure what's living in these, but I'm being very cautious. Because you just never know what's going to come out. There's snakes and wild boars and all kinds of things here, gators, and stuff that you never had to deal with back in the Midwest. Now this is intriguing right here. This looks like it was gated at one point. It says Woodmen of the World Memorial. Littleton S. Black, 1862 to 1914. Woodmen of the World Memorial. I'm not sure I've ever seen one of those before. And there's another one fenced here. And like it said, this place has been around since 1860. And some of these places don't look like they've really been touched in a lot of years. That is a really pretty stone too. O'Neill, born 1873, died November 6, 1913. Now we've seen these a couple of times on this channel. These are some of those tree trunk ones. And these also say Woodmen of the World Memorial. I've always been fascinated by these. The stonework on these is pretty incredible. Henry D. Loenecker. Just beautiful. And then if we wander over here, there's another similar one. It says Eugene Sharp. It's got the logs here. Another Woodman of the World. 1898 to 1918. When you think of classic tombstones, Sarah Jane, wife of D.S. Sharp, born just after the Civil War, passed away 1913. People really didn't live long lives back then. But these old cemeteries down here are pretty fascinating. Reverend Thomas L. Cooper. Here's a better look at this. This one is not as worn as the other one. Woodmen of the World Memorial. If anybody watching this knows any more about these, please let me know in the comments, because I'm always all for learning new things. Just interesting cemeteries, palm trees in here. Just beautiful. A couple other ones in here that kind of speak to you. Alexander D. McLean, 1830 to 1906. Passed away here in Crystal River, Florida. Born in Nova Scotia. William Chase, born in 1816, died in 1889. It was a decent life for back then. Now, if you notice, the plots here are very different. They have these all laid out, and they look very old. But a lot of these cemeteries probably have not had any new residents. Some of them in close to 100 years. But every once in a while, I mean, most of these are all pretty old. I think the most recent one I found was 1940-ish. But then there's one random one in here, well, one plot, and that's just over here. I'll zoom in so I don't step on anybody here. But there's a Fitzpatrick. Looks like one of them passed away in 2023, and the other's still living. But this plot right here in front of me seems to be the only one that is remotely modern. So it's kind of interesting by itself. And then just over here is one of the above ground vaults that are very common down here. It says Harvey and Ada Edwards. Looks like he passed away in 1978, her in 1973. So it looks like this whole area kind of in the middle is more modern. But then you have other areas like this. And this building right here behind it, I don't know if this is a little motel or what this is, but it's kind of interesting how things are laid out down here. This one's Mary Smith, passed away in 1920. Jesse Smith, 1913. Just a very interesting cemetery. Over here, these are also pretty neat. Zoom in there so you can see that. Lottie Eloise, daughter of E.R. and Mary A.J. King, born 1877, died 1879. A lot of kids really didn't make it into adulthood back then. There's another one over here. That was April 2nd, 1879. Then there's another one, Franklin King, son of the same couple, born in 1875. He only made it to not even 2 years. There's actually quite a few of these. Here's Edwin King, born 1869, died 1870. And 1866 to 1868. Leela Eliza, daughter of Edwin and Mary King. So they had four children that all passed away between the ages of 1 and 2. Here's a couple of other older above ground ones made. It's like these ones were made of brick with a slab on top. Now hopefully you enjoy a little bit of these, the older historic cemeteries the same way that I do. You know, they are very different. Everyone is, you know, unique, different people, different stories. But the interesting thing about these is when some of these cemeteries appear to have been untouched for, 100 plus years, they're really interesting, and there are a lot of these down here. I will try to do more videos like this in the future, but there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up on this channel. So many new and interesting places that I have yet to be able to cover. But stay tuned, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.